Esteban DeJesus was born on August 2, 1951, in Carolina, Puerto Rico, to Fidela Rivera and Jose DeJesus, a carpenter. It was a big family, 12 kids in all, and Carolina was meaner than most places. They called it El Pueblo de los Tumba Brazos, town of the arm hackers, named after men who swung machetes during sugarcane strikes back when blood was cheaper than sugar. In Carolina, violence wasn't rare, it was casual. DeJesus got his first taste early, beating down some punks who jumped his high school teacher. He wasn't looking to be a hero, just fists moving faster than thought, pure instinct. He went to Julio Coronado High School, where he met his wife, Nellie, mouths to help feed, which meant bouncing between odd jobs, garage work, barbershops, metal yards, anything that paid. Boxing wasn't his first choice, but two friends, both amateur fighters, kept pushing him, urging him to try his luck. At 17, DeJesus stepped through the ropes. The amateurs came first, 28 wins, 5 losses. The victories didn't mean much at first, only the weed afterward. One afternoon, fighting in an exhibition at some forgotten park, Gregorio Benitez saw him. I could see he had something special, Gregorio said. I asked him if he'd come with me and turn professional. Hungry for cash and the women that came with it, DeJesus started training under Gregorio's hard hand. The old man laid down his law. No girls, no distractions. Nobody listened, least of all DeJesus. Esteban took a shot at the national AAU tournament, but lost in the quarterfinals. He turned pro 2 weeks shy of his 18th birthday. Still raw, still dangerous. 15 fights without a loss, knocking around Puerto Rico like he owned every ring he stepped into. Then he traveled. Hit Venezuela to face Antonio Gomez, a future featherweight champ. DeJesus won at least 7 of the 10 rounds. Every neutral observer had him ahead, but the hometown judges stole it. He snatched the Puerto Rican lightweight title from Josue Marquez. In April of 1972, DeJesus made his American debut, knocking George Foster senseless in 8 rounds. People started paying attention. 5 more fights, 5 more wins. 2 under the bright lights of New York. The whispers got louder. Boricua born, bred on pain and burning to break through. Manager Gregorio Benitez and matchmaker Teddy Brenner smelled blood and money, so they threw him in with ROBERTO DURAN, the savage lightweight king, undefeated at 31-0. Duran's belt wasn't on the line, just machismo and pride.
Heaven is God's, or hell is God saying, thy will be done. So what you want in your life by rejecting Christ is what you're going to get in the afterlife.
Nobody wants hell.
Well,
you just accept, and maybe, and I guess Hindus accept Jesus as, I've read like a yogi.
Sure.
Essentially. But maybe not the only form of God. And theoretically, I think it aligns with Christianity in some ways, if God is everywhere, we could all be God. So
that would be the Hindu way of working it out.
Right. But then we accept Jesus. And
but even Hinduism is exclusivistic in certain regards. And the inclusivists have to exclude.
How would we, and I'm not, look, I don't know enough, so how are we exclusivists?
Depending on what version of Hinduism you're talking about, because there's polytheistic Hinduism, there's monotheistic Hinduism, and there's atheistic, or non-theistic Hinduism.
Yeah, you could be atheist Hindu. Yeah.
So they can't all be true. So truth by its very nature is exclusive, right? If I say 2 + 2 is 4, well, I'll give it Andrew the benefit of the doubt. Andrew says 2 + 2 is 4. I say 2 + 2 is 6. One of us is wrong. Now, we could both be wrong, but the truth is that 2 + 2 is 4. He's right. And so in that sense, that's an exclusive truth statement. So if you look at all the world religions, I would ultimately say they're all exclusivistic at some regard. I say Jesus is
exclusivistic in the most important regard.
Christianity is inclusivistic in that all are called to come.
Yeah.
But it is exclusivistic in that Jesus loves you and calls you to come as you are, but he loves you too much to leave you where you are. And so it's unconditional, but it's not unconditioned. Because all you have to do is give up your life and follow Jesus.
I think conditioned is conditional.
Okay.
They're putting a condition on it. Like, that was a very poetic thing you said, but it doesn't actually mean anything.
Well, it does in the sense that when I say it's unconditional, it's that Jesus says all are welcome to come. Mm-hmm. But there is a condition.
Yeah.
There is, right? It's not nothing.
Yeah.
And in that sense, God is either, right, the universe in like an Eastern mystic kind of idea, or God is a personal being. They can't both be true. So I think all world religions have these like superficial agreements, but they disagree on the fundamentals. right? Who God is, who we are, why we're here, what sin is, what the afterlife is like, how we solve the problem of human flourishing. Like all these things are important topics, but Advil and arsenic both come in pill form. But it's not the similarities that make you choose one over the other when you have a headache, it's the differences. So, as someone who has studied world religions, I would say that there is no such thing as a religion that accepts everything. Because even if I say Jesus is God incarnate and there's only one God, he's not just a guru, and his teachings actually don't give you reason to just chop him up to a guru, then that's excluding the worldview system of something like Hinduism or Buddhism, which would also include that.
Yeah, I guess the difference would be we would say that's fine.
Yeah.
Like in Hinduism, that's okay. You believe what you believe. God bless. There are many ways to the mountaintop. If that way gets you to the mountaintop, amazing. We're thrilled for you.
Yeah, and I would say there's only one way to the mountaintop.
Yeah, and that is a fairly big difference.
Yes, yeah, it is. So it's not pluralistic.
I guess to me, and I'm also a little, I don't want to say sensitive, but like you grow up getting told you're going to hell if you're in the South.
Sure.
So it's like, I would look at it as a kid more so. Now I'm less bothered by it, but I'd be like, man, you guys will forgive murderers. Jesus will forgive you murderers, child molesters, if he believes in them or if they believe in him. But if you're a good person who doesn't fully believe in him.
Yeah, so to that, I would say there's no such thing as a good person.
Because we're all sinners.
So all good people go to heaven. That's clear biblically, right? But Jesus says no one is good but God. So we have a dilemma, right? All good people go to heaven. No one is good but God. What does that mean? No one's going to heaven. So the issue is like, so this is similar to the question of what do you do with the person who lives on like a random island in the middle of, Papua New Guinea and has never heard the God, the innocent, tribes person. And the biblical answer is that there's no such thing as an innocent person. In that I deserve hell. I deserve hell 100% of the time. That's like the wages of sin is death. And that's the language that Paul uses in that I'm like actively working at a job to earn a wage. And that's sin and death, right? But the second part of that line is the gift of God is eternal life through Christ Jesus. So the answer to the question is that I think we are both worse than we realize and have the potential to do much more good than we realize. However, I am not going to heaven because of anything I've done. Right? I can't do that. That's very clear scripturally. You cannot earn your way to heaven. It's not about doing things. It's not about what I'm doing. It's about what Jesus did.
So it's up to us to get some Christianity out to that island in Papua New Guinea.
Yeah.
And is that why these people are compelled to, take it?
And that's why missions existed. That was the motivation. So we were talking about like the New Testament is copied like crazy in the early period, these independent
beautiful sacrifice
writings. One of the reasons for that is because they were like, we need to get this out everywhere.
Or else these people aren't going to get to heaven.
So I didn't really, pretty quickly, I didn't resent the people trying to convert me. I understood their motivation. But I did resent, Jesus is like, I like your Christ, I don't like your Christians. I almost felt the opposite in that sense. Gandhi said that. Yeah. Gandhi said that. So I almost felt the opposite. Like, I understand, I have empathy for the people who are trying to convert me. They're trying to save me. Yeah. What is this faith that is written in such a way that a guy who's never heard of me, because y'all didn't make it out to me, is condemned to hell?
Sure. And I would deny yours.
No, I'm saying that, let's say Papua New Guinea, never heard of you. They're not denying. They don't know.
Right.
How is that person going to hell? For simply you not doing your job and going out to convert him.
Yeah, ultimately I would say God doesn't owe anybody anything. So the assumption is that God owes us our salvation. And I would say that it is more, if God chose just to save Abraham, he would have been more gracious than we possibly deserve to do that. But he didn't just save Abraham. He saves a countless number. In the sense that when John has his vision in the book of Revelation, it's an innumerable number. He can't even count it. That's how big it is. And so I think the message of Christianity, the good news, what we call the gospel, is that you are headed towards destruction and you're actually attempting to cause the destruction, right? It's not that, Jesus has thrown a life preserver and you need to catch it. No, you're trying to fight Jesus. You don't want the life preserver. But apart from the saving work of the Spirit reaching into the prophets use the language of, you have a heart of stone, God is going to give you a heart of flesh. But it's God's work that does that. And so we don't deserve that freedom, that graciousness.
DeJesus doing the holding. Fight is almost over now. Only seconds to go. There it is. There's the final bell. Duran obviously disgusted with himself.
How the judges would call it. DeJesus took the decision, flipping the odds the middle finger. He threw on a straw hat with Puerto Rico painted across the brim, smiled and raised his fists. The crowd exploded. Roberto Duran back for more. A rematch, this time for Duran's crown. DeJesus brought his brujos, island mystics whispering curses, casting spells, chanting through smoke and chicken blood. They lit candles. They kissed medallions. Whatever it took to keep the devil one step behind. 1 minute into round 1, DeJesus dropped Duran again. Another hook. Clean and perfect. Duran hit the canvas, bounced back up, took the count, shook his head clear. This time, the knockdown just pissed him off. In the 7th, it was DeJesus tasting the floor. He rose and fought back, slicing open Duran's left eye before the bell. Blood trickled down like spilled ink, but Duran never backed off. He came roaring back, round after round, savage hooks sinking into ribs, right hand sharp as a butcher's cleaver. By the 11th, Duran was a tidal wave. A left hook to the skull, a brutal shot to the gut, and then the right cross, clean, merciless. DeJesus folded, finished. The night collapsed around him. But DeJesus was too deep in the game to quit now. 3 more tune-ups, easier prey, rebuilding his confidence piece by piece until he stepped up again, dignity intact. After Wilfred Benitez took the crown from Cervantes, Gregorio quickly dumped DeJesus, sold off his contract to Jose Santiago, a rich former baseball player. Santiago paired DeJesus with trainer Manny Shaka. Manny didn't push, didn't demand. He just laid it out there, quiet. A stark contrast to Gregorio's drill sergeant venom. DeJesus slid back down to lightweight, faced Guts Ishimatsu for the title. Ishimatsu swung like a man underwater, and DeJesus just kept chipping at him. Death by 1,000 jabs, to fall again in the 6th. The ref waved it off, and DeJesus stood in the ring victorious, another battered opponent at his feet, the shadows of his reckless life waiting quietly in the darkness just beyond the lights. DeJesus was hooked deep by then, discovering speedballs, that poisonous mix of cocaine and heroin jammed into one deadly syringe, shooting up in back rooms and dirty hotels, surrounded by nodding strangers and hangers-on, each waiting for their turn. His brother Enrique joined him in a slow dive to nowhere, but as long as DeJesus kept winning, no one asked questions. No one wanted to. He defended his belt once more, then came the rubber match with Duran. One final, brutal showdown for all the glory. Duran, a 2-1 favorite, walked into the fight bitter and angry, still hot from a scuffle at the weigh-in. This time, he fought smart, surprising everyone by stepping back.
Están contando la cuenta de 8 segundos. Esteban puede caer todas las veces que quiera. Se reanuda el combate luego de una cuenta de protección. Ahí va Durán con una derecha, el uppercut, la izquierda y la derecha por Durán. Está en malas condiciones el boricua. Y no se defiende. Lo va a matar, por favor. Ese hombre no puede continuar. Y no va a seguir. Se acabó la pelea. Noqueó Roberto Durán. Se metieron sus esquinas.
He came from a big family. Good people who believed love could cure addiction, who tried everything. Cold turkey in locked rooms, psychiatrists flown in from Mexico, even a Santero priest waving charms and whispering prayers. He was losing himself. DeJesus lost his mother soon after. A heart attack snatching her away without warning, leaving him hollowed out. A shell with nothing inside. Boxing didn't matter anymore. Titles, money, fame. They were all worthless coins scattered in the dirt. Gregorio Benitez came around, hoping to revive his old prodigy. But DeJesus was beyond reach. Heroin gripping him tighter than any glove ever could. He no longer cared about boxing, his wife, or even his kids. On November 27, 1980, he loaded up a syringe with cocaine, injected himself full of numbness, and drove off in his wife's car. A minor traffic dispute exploded into tragedy. He encountered a 17-year-old construction worker named Roberto Cintron Gonzalez. Words exchanged. A highway chase. DeJesus pulled out a .25 caliber pistol, squeezed the trigger, and erased a life. When they dragged DeJesus into court, he shrugged, eyes vacant, soul empty. He said he was so high, he didn't even remember squeezing the trigger. In May of 1981, they locked him up for life, sent him to Rio Piedras State Penitentiary to rot. In prison, DeJesus found something. Baseball, of all things. Played like he still had some meaning left. Made the penal system all-star team 3 years running. Later, he found Christ. Born again behind steel bars, preaching to lost souls. He faced down his demons, spoke openly about the poison that took him over. You start with friends, DeJesus said, and you get so wrapped up with the drugs that before you know it, you're hooked. They take you to parties and you start using the stuff. The worst part is when you open your eyes, it's too late. You're already addicted. Then came the news. Enrique, his brother, was gone. AIDS claimed him in 1985. They shared needles too many times, and soon DeJesus felt the shadow creeping into him, symptoms whispering the truth he didn't want to hear. When the diagnosis became public, the governor of Puerto Rico showed mercy, moved him into a treatment center, an old milk factory, stinking of bleach and broken lives. Esteban lay there, frail and thin as paper, barely 100 pounds, in a room full of broken men, wasted addicts waiting for the end. Famous faces came to visit, to look one last time at a man who once stood proud and fierce. Roberto DURAN came, the great rival, and when he saw DeJesus, a shadow of a man shrunk by disease, he began to weep, wrapped arms around his old enemy, kissed him gently, whispered comfort, told his own daughter to kiss the dying warrior as tears rolled freely down his face. Esteban died shortly after, confused and weightless, 38 years old, a former champion who couldn't recognize his own reflection. His final round fought in the dark.